What if the Jedi Council exiled Anakin from Coruscant? In the Star Wars saga, Anakin Skywalker grew up at the Jedi Temple and became a Jedi Knight. However, this left him open to manipulation by Palpatine, and he fell to the dark side. But what if this wasn't the case? And what if early in his training, Anakin was exiled from Coruscant? How would that change the timeline that we all know and love today? Let's start today's story at the Jedi Temple. Anakin Skywalker is 11 years old. He has been training for 2 years at this point, and he has mastered the basics. He can wield the Force, swing his lightsaber, and his senses are beginning to become attuned. Things can come naturally to him, and he was stronger than most younglings his age. However, one afternoon changed everything for Anakin. The training hall in the Jedi Temple was full of younglings. They were practicing duels with training sabers, and Anakin was matched against an older Padawan. At first, it was normal sparring, but the older boy started to tease him about being a slave. The words made Anakin angry. His strikes became faster and stronger, harder than simple practice. The other Padawan struggled to keep up, but Anakin did not stop. He wanted to win, to prove himself. The match should have ended when Anakin had the upper hand, but he kept going. Then something inside of him snapped. He dropped his saber and used the Force. With one powerful push, he sent the Padawan flying across the hall. The boy hit the wall with a heavy crack and fell to the floor. Everyone froze. Instructors rushed to the injured Padawan, who lay broken and barely moving. Anakin stood still. He was shocked at what he had just done. The council met soon after. That accident could not be ignored. A Jedi had almost been killed by another youngling. The masters sat in silence as they thought about what happened. Windu wanted Anakin gone, but other masters like Kit Fisto and Plo Koon thought they shouldn't move too hastily. They knew Anakin was powerful, but this showed he was also dangerous. Some believed he was too unstable to stay at the temple. Others worried that he might harm more students if he lost control again. But there was also hesitation. Anakin was the chosen one. To cast him out felt completely wrong. The Force had brought him there for a reason, but they could not keep him here on Coruscant where he might hurt others. At last they made the decision. Anakin would not remain in the temple. He would be sent away to train under Obi-Wan, far from the center of the Republic. Yoda finished by announcing that Anakin would go to Jeddah, where he would complete his Jedi training. From here, Anakin and Obi-Wan begin their new life on Jeddah. Anakin prefers this place to Coruscant. At the Jedi Temple, he was bullied by his classmates and felt like everyone was judging him. But here it was different. People treated him like he was a normal kid. It didn't matter that he was a Jedi youngling. He and Kenobi began training immediately. They started with lightsaber combat. Anakin was taught Form 5, the Way of the Great Dragon. It encompasses Obi-Wan's mastery over Form 3 and added more aggression to help temper Anakin's innate darkness. As the weeks went on, Anakin progressed. This came naturally to him, and he learned flourishes and techniques with ease. They practiced all over the Jeddah city, from the busy streets to the top of the temple's balconies. However, everything changed when Anakin was meditating at the temple monastery. His meditating transformed into a Force vision. He sees a single image of a hooded figure staring at him through smoke and fire, almost coercing him to come towards him. As Anakin begins to approach him, he wakes up covered in sweat. He was shaken, but he told no one. The following day, as Anakin was completing his daily training exercises, he meets Lyra, the daughter of a Kyber scholar, and they quickly become friends. She's curious about the Force, and they begin hanging out a lot. It was nice for Anakin to have a friend. It was probably the first friend since Tatooine. Anakin and Lyra became inseparable almost instantly. She followed him to the temple courtyards, asking endless questions about the Force, and Anakin, proud to have someone who finally admired him, showed her little tricks he was learning. He would lift stones into the air while she laughed, or balance on narrow ledges while she watched in awe. Her curiosity pushed him to try harder, to focus more deeply, and in teaching her, he was also teaching himself. With Lyra beside him, Anakin felt stronger, more confident, and the Force flowed through him with an ease that he had never known before. As time went on, Anakin and Obi-Wan began helping the people of Jeddah. Sometimes it was small things like using the Force to lift an object from a tree or stop someone stealing, but other times they would help with larger threats. After returning from a mission guarding a Kyber shipment, Anakin rested and the Force vision came again. Just like before, the hooded figure stood in smoke and fire, watching him, pulling him closer with an unseen force. But this time something new appeared. Behind the figure, lined in perfect formation, were rows of soldiers clad in shining white armor. They didn't move, but Anakin could feel their presence, cold and menacing, as if they were waiting for his command. The vision ended in the same way, with Anakin waking in a sweat, his heart racing, knowing the scene was far from complete. Anakin continued to keep quiet about his visions. He believed that one day he would understand for himself. Life on Jedha began to take on its own rhythm, and for Anakin, it was the closest thing to normal he had felt since leaving Tatooine. He trained with Obi-Wan every morning, sparring in the courtyards, running drills through the narrow streets, and learning not just how to fight, but how to carry himself as a Jedi. When missions came, he was sent to mediate disputes between merchants and pilgrims, to guard Kyber shipments, or to help convoys traveling through dangerous regions. These tasks earned him respect, and the people began to speak of the young Jedi with admiration, saying he had courage beyond his years. Hey guys, make sure to check out our saber shop, Fantasy Sabers, for the best NeoPixel sabers on the market. We have a bunch of perfect replicas and other insane Padawan sabers for sale. Check them out on our website, first link in the description below, and grab your own one today. But as much as he gave to his training and his duty, his heart was always pulled towards Lyra. She was the one person who made him feel like a boy, rather than the chosen one. They spent their afternoons climbing the rooftops of Jedha, racing each other across crumbling stones, and lying back under the stars and whispering secrets about the things they had feared or hoped for. Lyra wasn't afraid of him. She teased him about his messy hair, asked him to show her new Force tricks, and pushed him to laugh when he was too serious. Over time, those small moments grew into something deeper, and Anakin found himself falling for her. During one of Jedha's grand festivals, with fireworks painting the sky, Anakin collapsed without warning, his body growing rigid as another vision seized him. He was back in the same place as before, the hooded figure cloaked in smoke and fire, but this time the setting was clearer. He could see the tall columns and bright windows of the Senate district on Coruscant. Outside, the city burned as chaos raged. That meant the hooded figure is on Coruscant, Anakin thought to himself. As Anakin returned to consciousness, he was even more confused. From then on, the visions returned again and again. Not every night, not even every month, but about once a year, each one building on the last. Anakin was 16 years old at this point, and he had been on Jedha for 5 years. In one vision, he heard the hooded figure shouting to the soldiers, "Execute," and in that instant, he realized the white armored soldiers were not just standing there, they were turning their weapons on the Jedi. In another, he saw himself standing in the center of it all, his blue lightsaber ignited, facing the hooded figure as if everything had been leading to that single confrontation. Each vision ended quickly, leaving him shaken and restless, unable to explain why the Force showed him these moments in pieces, like a puzzle he can't solve. Lyra tried to comfort him, saying the Force was not laying out a destiny, but giving him a warning, urging him to be cautious and to remember that he always had a choice. But Anakin couldn't shake the fear that what he saw was set in stone, that it was his future whether he wanted it or not. He became obsessed with understanding it, meditating for hours at the temple, searching through ancient texts, and even sparring harder than ever with Obi-Wan, as if training could prepare him for what was coming. At the same time, Obi-Wan's training was shaping him into more than just a warrior. He learned restraint, learning not to let his emotions drive him to rashness. He learned leadership, guiding younger initiates and making decisions that put others before himself. And through countless missions, he learned diplomacy, solving conflicts without drawing his blade, listening when once he must have shouted. Yet despite all this growth, he also built a reputation across Jedha as fearless. He never backed down from protecting a convoy from raiders, he never hesitated to stand between pilgrims and danger, and people whispered that he would one day be the greatest Jedi of them all. When Anakin was 19, the visions came again, clearer than before. He found himself in the Senate district on Coruscant, flames burning outside as Coruscant was being destroyed. Inside the room, the hooded figure laughed as the soldiers surrounded him, but this time there was something else. A flicker of purple light beside the Sith. It was a lightsaber. Anakin froze, recognizing the color, and his stomach twisted. Purple only meant one Jedi. Mace Windu. The thought sent a chill through him. How could Master Windu be standing beside a Sith Lord? Was he working with them? Was he a part of it all along? The vision faded, leaving Anakin shaken. He couldn't let it go. Not long after, Mace Windu himself arrived on Jedha. The council had sent him there to check Anakin's progress, to decide if life away from Coruscant was really helping him control his emotions. But Anakin couldn't look at him the same way anymore. The vision clung to him like a wet clothes. Instead of feeling reassured by Windu's presence, Anakin became convinced the Master was hiding something. Quietly, he began to follow him. At first, it was through the bustling markets, pretending to browse stalls while keeping Windu in sight. Then it was across rooftops, using the Force to leap silently from stone to stone. He even trailed him into the ancient catacombs beneath Jeddah, where pilgrims whispered prayers and old secrets lingered. Anakin told himself it was only to be sure, but deep down, he was desperate for proof. One night, Anakin's suspicions seemed to be proven. In the Kyber temple on Jeddah, he saw Master Windu speaking with a Kyber scholar. Anakin could only make out a few words. He heard Windu asking about Kyber crystals, even presenting his own amethyst blade. He inquired about how someone gets a red Kyber crystal. This caused Anakin to come to his own conclusion, and he believed Windu was hiding something from the council. His chest burned with anger. The vision must have been right all along. Without thinking, he ignited his blue blade and leaped forward to attack. He accused Windu of working with the Sith, of betraying everything the Jedi stood for. Windu's face hardened, but he didn't back down and ignited his amethyst blade. In seconds they clashed, Anakin pressing forward with raw power, Windu parrying each strike with calm precision. But it wasn't even close. Windu's skill was overwhelming. He deflected, countered, and with moments had Anakin disarmed and forced him to the ground, pinning his weapon away. His voice thundered as he demanded to know why Anakin was attacking a Jedi Master. Anakin broke. He blurted out everything. The visions, the hooded figure, the purple blade flickering beside him. His words tumbled out fast. For a moment, Windu was silent, staring down at him. Anakin expected anger, maybe even contempt. Instead, Windu's eyes narrowed with sharp concern. He told Anakin that visions could not be trusted. They were dangerous, often misleading, and fear of them could twist a Jedi to the dark side. He warned that the hooded figure could even be manipulating the visions, planting false images to confuse him, to turn him against his own allies. Obi-Wan arrived soon after. Windu knew that this required the council's attention. Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Windu returned to Coruscant and stood before the full Jedi Council. Anakin told them everything, every vision he had since arriving on Jeddah, how each one built on the last, how it always showed the same room, the same hooded figure, and the same moment of fire and destruction on Coruscant. He explained that now, after so many years, the vision was almost complete. The council listened in silence. Yoda finally spoke, warning that visions were dangerous, and they were easily twisted by fear or by the dark side. But even Yoda admitted that it was unusual for the same vision to repeat and grow clearer for so long. The council debated amongst themselves. Some thought it might be a Sith trick, others believed it could be a warning. A few said that it was only Anakin's fears that made it real through the Force. In the end, they decided they could not act until something real happened. Still, they told Obi-Wan and Windu to keep Anakin close and watch him carefully. Before dismissing him, they said Anakin was no longer exiled. They could see the man he had become, and that he was no longer the young boy they had cast aside a decade earlier. Soon after, the Clone Wars erupted across the galaxy. The Republic and Separatists fought on hundreds of worlds, and the Jedi were forced to lead the new clone armies as generals. It was something they had never been trained for, and many struggled, but Anakin adapted quickly. He took to the battlefield with Obi-Wan always close, and together they became legends of the war. Anakin's strategies were bold and dangerous, but they worked, and his soldiers trusted him with their lives. They fought on Christophsis, Umbara, and countless others. But every time he ignited his blade, the visions came back to him. He saw the Senate chamber, the hooded figure, the fire outside the windows, and the purple glow of Windu's blade. The first time he saw a clone trooper, he connected the dots. They were the soldiers in his vision. The war did not stop the visions, and though they never showed him more, they haunted him every battle. Still, in the middle of it all, Anakin remained in contact with Lyra. They stayed connected through a secret comlink, which allowed him to communicate with her, regardless of where he was in the galaxy. When he could, he returned to Jeddah between campaigns, where they would walk the markets like normal people, away from the war, away from the burden of being the chosen one. It was during one of these visits that they married in secret. Lyra reminded him that he was still human, that he was not just a weapon of the Jedi or the Republic. As the years passed, the war began to shake Anakin more than anything else. The war reached its breaking point when word came that the Separatists had launched an entire fleet to Coruscant. Anakin and Obi-Wan were called back from the Outer Rim sieges to defend the capital. Fleets of droid ships filled the skies, bombarding the planet, fire spreading across the city while millions of clones fought to hold them back. Jedi led troops to the ground, their sabers flashing through the chaos, while the Senate gave Palpatine new emergency powers to control the war effort. As the fighting reached the Senate district, the Council feared the Chancellor was in danger of being captured and sent a small strike team led by Mace Windu with Obi-Wan and Anakin ordered to join him. They entered Palpatine's office. Suddenly from the shadows stepped the hooded figure Anakin had seen in his visions for years. His heart dropped. The chamber, the clones, the fire, Windu's blade, it was all here, exactly as he had seen. Panic gripped him as another vision slammed into him, showing him the final piece. The hooded figure removed the hood to reveal Chancellor Palpatine as Darth Sidious. Then Sidious killing him, Obi-Wan and Windu before destroying Jedha and Lyra. The nightmare came full circle, but as he snapped back to reality, he refused to hide. Pointing his sapphire blade towards Sidious, Anakin shouted for him to reveal himself, screaming that he knew the truth. Windu and Obi-Wan were shocked as Sidious removed his hood to show Palpatine's face. Without hesitation, Palpatine opened his comlink and said the words Anakin had grown to fear: "Execute Order 66. The clones at the door spun and raised their rifles, firing at the Jedi without warning. The chamber exploded into chaos. Jedi rushed to meet the first wave, blades flashing to deflect the storm of blaster bolts, while others were cut down instantly. Windu ignited his purple blade as Obi-Wan and Anakin followed. Together they charged Sidious as the clones filled the room. Palpatine defended and began leaping around the room. He first pressed his attacks on Obi-Wan, understanding that he was the weakest among them. But when Windu started focusing his Vapod, Sidious knew he had to change tactics. He placed Anakin on the defensive and forced Kenobi on the offensive, reversing their fighting styles, then firing lightning at Windu. But the Jedi Master simply blocked and re-engaged. There was nothing Palpatine could do, he was outmatched. As the fight continued, Palpatine made a mistake, and Anakin capitalized on this, using the Force to stop the Sith blades in midair, as all three of them drove their sabers into his chest. It was over, Palpatine was dead. The battle for Coruscant marked the end of the Clone Wars. The droid armies scattered and the Separatist leaders were defeated without Sidious to guide them. The galaxy slowly began to heal. In the Senate, Padme Amidala was elected as Supreme Chancellor to guide the Republic into a new age of peace and prosperity. As for Lyra, she moved to Coruscant to be with Anakin. He told the council about his marriage. He wasn't afraid anymore. But the council recognized that if it wasn't for Anakin, they never would have defeated Palpatine and won the war. They allowed him to remain in the Order. With Lyra by his side, Anakin found balance, and when she became pregnant, his heart was finally at peace. The Chosen One had fulfilled his destiny and brought balance to the Force. If you enjoyed today's video, you must watch What If Anakin Told the Council About His Vision of His Mother Dying, and What If Anakin Had a Twin. Please check out Fantasy Sabers if you're looking for an affordable saber to add to your collection. We offer RGB, Xenopixel or Profi in various sizes and designs. Also check out our membership program to be able to watch our videos early. Thank you all for watching, and may the Force be with you.